For weeks now, Sean Diddy Combs and the Menendez brothers have dominated the headlines. Combs facing a wave after wave of lawsuits accusing him of sexual assault, including against minors. He's currently awaiting trial behind bars after being denied bail twice. Meantime, Erik and Lyle Menendez could be resentenced as they serve life in prison for killing their parents back in 1989. They say that their father sexually abused them, and the DA's office is reviewing new evidence. Well, joining us live this morning to discuss both of these high-profile cases is legal expert Joshua Ritter. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let's start here with the Menendez brothers, of course, in the headlines across the nation, if not worldwide. It's been 35 years, and now the DA's office could recommend resentencing, and we're waiting on that news potentially today. What are they looking at to make that decision?
Well, he's received new evidence from their defense attorneys. There was a habeas filed last year. It was actually filed in March of last year, so they've had it for some time. It's a new letter and also a declaration from someone who says that they were also abused at the hands of Jose Menendez. And he's saying he's taking time to review that, and he expects to issue a decision by the end of this week, which would be his decision on resentencing, meaning there's the potential they could be resentenced to manslaughter with the potential of being released from prison.
Any insight about the letter? And I asked this question a couple of weeks ago with another expert I was speaking to. Was it simply just not available 35 years ago? It's just now coming to light, this letter that Erik Menendez wrote?
It's not entirely unclear, but the story coming forward is that it was discovered since the time of the trial. Had that been available at the trial, they would have tried to have it admitted as evidence, but they did not have it available at that time.
If resentencing is recommended, and again, maybe that comes down today, what happens next? What's that process? You were telling me before we came on, this is not immediate. They would not be released today. There's still a process to go through.
Right. We're not going to be seeing any footage of them stepping out of a prison anytime today. It would be set on calendar in front of a court. It would actually go back to the same court in which they were tried. A different judge. That judge has since retired. But arguments will have to be made. Now, if the DA's office is supporting it, you're going to have both sides supporting this position of resentencing. But ultimately, a judge is going to have to make a decision based upon the law.
DA Gascón got to acknowledge that he is up for re-election, and we're just about 2 weeks away. How much do you think that politics play into this?
I'm no political strategist, but I will say that it's interesting we're having this conversation in October before a November election, even though they've had this information for over a year. The timing just seems strange.
And he has said that his office, they're split on it. He has some prosecutors on his team that they were working this original case 35 years ago. Many of them, they believe that the Menendez brothers should be in prison. Others saying, hey, they've done their time. Do you think that plays a role at all, the fact that he has people on his own team in LA County that are split on the issue?
I think there are people who feel very strongly about this on both sides. I mean, these are two men who admitted to shotgunning their parents to death. They said they were abused at the hands of their father, but they also killed their mother. Yet at the same time, they've been apparently model prisons since they've been in, and also culturally, we've changed a lot in the way that we view victims of abuse, especially when those victims are male.
Okay, so on that note, before we switch gears to Diddy, Gascón has acknowledged some changing attitudes about men being sexually assaulted that maybe wasn't really front page news 35 years ago. Does that play a role?
I think absolutely. I mean, when you look back at the coverage, the media, late night television, how they were talking about the Menendez brothers 30 years ago, it's drastically different than I think the way that case would have been viewed today.
Okay, I know that was a lot to go through. Switching gears now to Sean Diddy Combs. He is facing a mountain of lawsuits alleging him of accusing him of serious violent crimes after his ex-girlfriend filed an abuse lawsuit in November of last year. But this is not the first time that he has been accused of abuse. Why are we seeing this avalanche now against him?
I think people feel emboldened. I think they feel like they can have the courage now to come forward. He's behind bars. There's nothing really he can do to retaliate against them at this point. I think there's strength in numbers, and people are realizing that, you know, they're not the only ones who may have been a victim of abuse by this man.
And while many of these lawsuits are from decades ago, and we've seen cases like that before, while there are a lot of accusations, do we have insight as to how strong the evidence is to back up the allegations?
You're right. A lot of them are old, so it's not like there's going to be videotape that still exists. In some cases, there might, but witnesses may have, memories fade. A lot of these allegations are going to be just simply kind of their word against his, but now that seems to be strengthened more and more by the people that come forward.
As we sit and watch this, how much should we take into account the fact that the judge in this case has left him behind bars? Somewhat rare.
I think that is a huge thing. The judge, in making that decision, actually viewed that video that was released showing Cassie Ventura being abused by him, and that was played a big part in the decision to keep him in. He will likely remain in. I think that Diddy has breathed his last breath of free air at this moment.
Yeah, and we all remember that video from that hotel with the surveillance when it came out, and that's really how all of this started, and you kind of took a moment to realize what we're looking at here. Some of Combs' defense team, this is pretty interesting, they have started to push back on specific accusers with TikTok videos. It's 2024. Is that a shock?
I think so. I think they're also a little savvy to the idea that we live in this kind of social media world where the public perception is very important. But as far as helping him out, he's in federal prison. I don't think TikTok videos are really what he needs.
I guess it comes down to the court of public opinion. So many people on TikTok, they see these videos from his defense team. I guess they're sharing text messages between the accusers. So big picture is, does the court of public opinion matter much at this point?
I don't think it matters as far as he's concerned. He's sitting in a jail in Brooklyn. He wants to get out. It doesn't look like he's getting out, and the case against him seems to be getting stronger and stronger by the day. Now,
some unnamed celebrities, not named, have been mentioned in some of the lawsuits. If Combs is ultimately convicted, is there a chance that this does take down other Hollywood elites? We don't know who's listed there, but that possibility.
That's a great question. Absolutely. I think that if these people begin to testify, victims come forward, other names, other people are implicated, I don't see any reason why the government has to stop with Sean Combs.
It's a lot to go through between the two cases. What are you watching today, this week? What's top of mind for you?
I think absolutely hearing this announcement on Menendez, I think that would be absolutely history-making. We're expected to have it perhaps later today or tomorrow. I'm very interested to see what takes place.
And the fact, when we talk about public opinion, the Netflix true crime drama that's out right now, a lot of people seeing that show, and it brings it front and center for an entirely new generation.
No, absolutely. And in fact, Gascón pointed to that show as being one of the reasons why he had a press conference a week or so ago and why he's actually coming out with his decision now.
Josh Ritter, it's excellent insight. We thank you for coming in, kind of breaking it down for us, and we're going to watch, we're going to wait and keep everyone posted as well. Thank you so much. Eyewitness News will be closely monitoring both the Combs and Menendez brothers cases. You can use the app or head to our website, abc7.com, for more background and the very latest developments. We will also push out any breaking alerts to our ABC7 Los Angeles app. We will be right back.